Okay, thanks. A gruesome shtick from a callous prick. Don Lemon rolls his eyes watching Melania agonize. Our video of the day comes to us from the destitute douchebag known as Don Lemon, who mocked a recent post from former First Lady Melania Trump demanding answers to her husband's assassination attempt. Here's her original video.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
And here's what Don Lemon posted.
The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
Does he always look at women that way? Obviously, not much empathy shown from Don Lemon, which makes sense for him, because if anyone around him ever gets shot in the head, I guarantee you it's self-inflicted. Kaylee, do you imagine, I know this is such an easy question, but if a Republican mocked Jill Biden after Joe was nearly assassinated, say by a set of stairs?
Yeah. I mean, that person would lose their job. But, oh, wait, Don Lemon already lost his job.
Yes.
So, he would have lost it a second time. Look, Don Lemon used to have, second to Gutfeld, the greatest comedy show on television.
Yeah.
It was called Don Lemon Tonight. It was intended to be serious. One of my favorite things to do would be to grab a glass of wine and laugh at that man. He'd take these long, dramatic pauses where you'd be like, are you okay? Is that man okay? Like, we need to do a wellness check. That's how crazy the show was. But he went from unintended satire to just being mean. I mean, who does that? And on his former network, a Clinton-era commentator, Maria Cardona, came out and in reaction to that video said she is irrelevant. Talk about empathy. They are lacking in empathy. That was purely mean-spirited. She learned in live, real time, during a rally, watching her husband, that he had been shot. And that's what they do. It's cruel.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd swear.
I came close.
Joe, doesn't this remind you of after the riots and stuff when Lemon was laughing or dismissing people who were watching buildings getting burned down and people getting beaten, and he was like, I went out to dinner. I had a great meal. Where's the violence? Yeah,
except now when people ask for him at a restaurant, it's to refill their coffee. Look, I think he scoffed, but Melania makes some great points. I mean, when the government understaffs security, when they deny requests for more Secret Service, when they leave a roof unguarded, when they leave the president on stage when there's a security threat, and then they destroy evidence, in the court of public opinion, it's up to the government to prove that they're innocent at this point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's not a conspiracy, even though you are a conspiracist.
I am.
But
yes.
What he did was so much worse than simply disagree with that.
Yeah.
It's not as if he disagreed with a talking head who made that opinion.
Yes.
He was rolling his eyes at the wife of the person who had almost assassinated.
Yes.
And he started the eye rolling when she said only the attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible and distressing experience.
Yeah.
Not saying anything about it, the incident itself or the Secret Service. Maybe he's a huge fan of the Secret Service. I don't know. But that shouldn't be controversial. I don't care who you are. If your husband is almost killed, I think that's fair to call that distressing.
Yes.
And he rolls his eyes at it like, can you believe she thinks it's distressing that somebody shot her husband in the head? I mean, get a real problem. I mean, he thought that was a relatable thing to post. I hope to God he was drunk.
Yeah.
Because if he did that sober, that's so much worse.
Yeah. What do you think what was he thinking?
I don't know. I can't understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to read his mind when there's so little of it, you know? All right, Dana, you get a swear pass here, because I mean I think Kat nails it. It's like this. It's a woman expressing the distress of watching her husband get shot in the ear, and he's acting like, "Can you believe this? This stupid lady."
Well, the people that feel the best about all of this are the people at CNN who fired him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were reports of misogyny at that time, if you'll remember, and then there was a report about how he's not a nice person and he's not credible. And he did something kind of interesting during the RNC debate. He'd gone to Atlantic City and he'd interviewed a bunch of people about the economy and who they were going to vote for. And they all tell him Trump. And he starts to argue with them, says, actually, the economy is very good. Let me show you all the statistics. And they laughed in his face and he posted it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But now you realize why some people need a producer.
Yeah.
And they need handlers. Because left to your own devices, you're going to do something like this. It makes everybody mad and realize, it makes everyone realize how much he sucks.
If you left,
Well, that was close.
if you left Don Lemon to his own devices, he'd end up in the ER. Honestly, I fell on it. Thank you.
Yikes.
Thank you. Glad some perverts are here. Oh, I'm gonna love this story. Can Shannon Sharpe be redeemed after the sex he streamed?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.